It is now my pleasure to turn today's program over to Dewey Norwood. Dewey, please go ahead.
Hey, Jen, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and as always, looking forward to working with you and with Kavita for what I hope is going to be an exciting webinar for our scholars today, all around the topic of digital natives and social media smarts. Scholars, as Jen mentioned, my name is Dewey Norwood. Very fortunate to be now in the banking industry for 22 years and serving in a role within our Enterprise Diversity and Inclusion team, and really excited to be bringing you what is the final installment. My goodness, we got them all in. The final installment of our Beyond College webinar series here for 2020. I know that we have some scholars that have joined us for every single one of these, so thank you all so much for participating, and others may be joining us for the first time with this, but wherever you are, we're just appreciative of you joining and wanting to be with us here for today. Hey, I want to touch on some housekeeping items that are going to be very, very important for you. Again, special thanks to everyone that's joined any of this year's sessions. Please remember, you can log on to the Intrado website via the links that we've provided, and you can actually access the playback for any, again, emphasis here, on any of the webinars that we've hosted here throughout the course of the year. So you can actually access any of those at any time for the playback on demand now through November the 30th. And so after November the 30th, those will be gone from this platform, but we'll be sharing some additional information about how you can access the playback of these. Also want to take a moment certainly to congratulate all of our Student Impact Scholarship winners, those impact makers that are out there. So congratulations to any of you all that have now formally been acknowledged as receiving one of those scholarships, and also now are joining us here for these discussions. So congratulations again to the 200 scholars that were connected into that wonderful program, and we know that those dollars will come in handy for you as you are heading back to college for next semester. Along those lines, I know lots of you are joining virtually. Maybe you had to do a virtual semester this year, or maybe you have a hybrid model where you're on campus but having to join from your dorm room, or only able to go a couple of days of the week. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, please continue to be safe. And this is a message not only to our college students, but our high school students that are also joining us. Just please continue to be physically distanced where you can. And at the same time, let's make sure that we're getting close to that calculus homework and getting close to those writing assignments and other important things that you're having to work on from those different perspectives. Hey, I want to, in a minute, talk about our agenda for the day, but I'd love to give you some numbers here. And this is always a fun exercise, and special shout-out to Andrea Valena and the team who help us with getting these great numbers. But scholars, you've done it again. We've got 271 registrations here for the day, and so our numbers are creeping up with in-person participants, and I know we'll have more folks that even get the playback of this one, but 271, another impressive number there. Certainly want to acknowledge the organizations that had the highest number of referrals. For this month's call, the Hispanic Scholarship Fund actually was our #1 referral source, and then our good friends over at Home Free USA actually referred the second highest number of students. So virtual shout out to our friends there at HSF, and of course to our wonderful friends over at Home Free USA. Thanks for helping us fill the virtual lines with great folks today. From the college perspective, really another shout out here. I think this is either 2 or 3 shows in a row where the University of Nebraska at Omaha, UNO, has provided the most number of students. So again, congratulations to the University of Nebraska at Omaha for your wonderful referrals here. And then in second place this time, a TMCF, or Thurgood Marshall College Fund member school, Fort Valley State, coming in with second place here with the most number of referrals. So some pretty good numbers there relative to our metrics. So where are we going? We're going to be talking about digital natives, obviously in a digital world. And that's a term, scholars, that I hope you all are familiar with. You know, you've been working with technology probably almost as long as you've been alive. And so you're considered digital natives, and there are some things that you need to keep in mind, and candidly some safeguards that you all need to be thinking about around the work that you're doing. We're going to talk about risk. We're going to talk about social media, some of the norms, some of the challenges that are out there. You're going to hear about deepfakes. You're going to hear about AI. You're going to hear about ML. You're going to hear about cybersecurity today. You're going to hear about spoofs. You're going to hear about all kinds of areas there and also a unique topic that may be new to some, but the notion of the Internet of Things, or IoT, and kind of what all of that is about. And then, of course, we're going to give you some rules and some tools to be able to utilize. And no matter where you are in your social media journey and how you're using technology today, we can all improve, right? We can all find ways to kind of get better. And I think you're going to leave this call and today's webinar with some great resources from our great distinguished panel. So take great notes as you're going along with things. We'll talk about some next steps as we get to the end. We'll certainly give you the details. Happy to report that in 2021, our webinar series is coming back. We're going to be moving to a brand new platform on the Microsoft Teams platform. And so this will actually allow you all to see us directly on the screen, which you may be saying, man, I saw Dewey. I don't want to see, turn my camera off. But we're going to do some fun things with that. I think we're going to put together a T-shirt day, favorite T-shirt day, and a favorite hat day, and a business dress day, so we can see you all in action there. So some fun things that we're going to be implementing there. I also want to put in a shameless plug. Throughout the course of today's presentation, we're going to be sending you lots of links. I actually want to go ahead and push the first one across. This is a very exciting event that we are hosting called A Day in the Life, the Wall Street and Investment Banking Edition. And this is being provided by our partners in the Corporate Investment Bank. So we're going to push that link over to you all just to take a look at. I would encourage any and everyone that is considering a career in banking to go ahead and join this hour-long webinar, or 90-minute webinar. It's going to be 2 weeks from tonight. And so really, really excited about being able to share that information and then giving you a chance to get involved in that. So you should see that popping up. Share that link with any and everyone that you think may want to get involved. We'd love to have you there for that wonderful presentation. And again, as we get to the end of the call, we'll give you some additional reminders and, again, remind you about how to access the playback of all of the sessions. But go ahead and do us a favor. Get social with us. Utilize that hashtag WFCBeyondCollege. This will be a great way for you to share some of the tools and tips that you get from today's presentation. And again, pass this information along to others that weren't able to join us real time that may be interested in the playback in some way, shape, or form. The next slide here will just give you some details. This is the different ways that you can connect in with us. So shout out to Dion and to Nicole who provided this great slide for us. You'll see lots of good information here about how to connect with us on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. Of course, our YouTube channel, Pinterest, and also on the Gram, or IG, I think as the young folks call it. So jump out there and make sure to get connected with Wells Fargo and certainly give us feedback on any of the content that you have had an opportunity to receive throughout today's presentation. So we've got a polling question, and I want to thank you scholars for going ahead and submitting lots of great questions to us in advance. We've gotten some of those that have come in, but utilize that Q&A feature. It's right there on the left-hand side of the screen, and then at any time you can go ahead and submit a question to us. Please remember, your questions come into us confidentially. We're never going to give your name, rank, serial number. We're not going to share that information when you present a question. We're simply going to pose the question that you present. And so just remember, if a question is top of mind for you, others probably have that same question as well. So we're interested in getting a sense of some of the social media platforms that you're using today. So we're going to go ahead and send this poll out, and it simply reads, what social media platforms do you use today? You've got the option here, I think, to select lots of different ones and make adjustments on any of the ones that actually apply to you. So we'll give it a moment here. And this is always when you need the that fun theme show music there that you can sing along with. And so we'll give it a moment here. And again, scholars, based upon some of the pre-information that you submitted, I know we've got lots of folks using lots of different channels that are out there. All right, starting to see some responses coming in. Okay. All right. Okay, from a results perspective, it looks like we're seeing definitely some folks utilizing, wow, we have some folks that are on the Facebook side, a lot of folks on IG, good number of folks, looks like, on LinkedIn. Some of those folks using TikTok and also jumping out there on Snapchat, some Twitter users that are still out there, and some folks, wow, all of the above. But we also have some folks interested that say none of the above right now. So, okay, pretty interesting metrics there. Maybe we'll have to discuss those in a little bit greater detail a little bit later on and kind of see where folks are connecting in. But good information there, scholars, and thanks for taking some time to go ahead and share that information with us. So, all right, final reminders here before we hand the reins over to our exceptional partners and great thought leaders. Scholars, please utilize the Q&A feature. I don't want to overemphasize this or underemphasize it, but this is a way for you to get questions answered. We know that you have questions around data security or around best ways to position yourself from a social media perspective. Please submit those questions to us. We're going to be sourcing those throughout the course of today's discussion, but we've got to hear from you to be able to know what's top of mind so we can answer those questions directly. As a reminder, they come in confidentially. We're never going to read your name for anything that you submit. So no question is a dumb question, and no question is one that's not fair for you to ask. With that said, I want to hand the reins over to our wonderful partners today. We're excited that we have Dr. Calvin Nobles, who's joining us, great partner of ours from our technology business services team, a senior leader within our firm that's doing some exceptional work relative to our technology platforms. We've also got with us Mr. James Wilkinson, great partner of ours, comes by the way of Lockheed Martin, serves as the CIO for the F-35 work that's happening there, and he'll be able to talk more about some of the important work that he's doing for that wonderful institution. And team, later in the show, we're going to have another partner joining us, Gary Sims, a former Wells Fargo colleague of ours, who now serves as the Distinguished Architect and Information Security Strategist for Walmart Information Security. And so we've got a great cross-section of leaders here. And in just a moment, Calvin will hand the reins to you. But scholars, here's what I want you to know. Calvin's experience, 25 years plus in the industry. James's experience, 26 years and counting relative to his work. And Gary has almost 30 years of experience for the work that he's doing. I mean, you add that up, we're almost at 80, we're actually above 81 years of corporate experience for these wonderful partners. Shame on you if you don't lean on them to ask the questions that are top of mind. They've been there, they've experienced things, they know the answers to the things that you all want to be able to pose. And so, Calvin, James, and Gary, we're excited to have you all on the lines with us here for today. Dr. Nobles, we want to hand the lines, or hand the reins, better yet, over to you for any opening comments that you want to share, and then maybe another brief introduction if you want to share a little bit more about your background, and then we'll jump into our content from here, sir.
Sir, thank you very much. I am glad to be here. This is a great opportunity to have a discussion about something that's very important to you all as you venture out into the world. Some of you are already out there, and just using your social media capabilities and your tools, because they are tools to us today. And again, I got over 26 years in the cyber and security industry, and I spent most of my time in the military. I retired from the military after 25 years, and then I joined the banking industry, where I came on board and started working cybersecurity again. And this is a great opportunity to be here with you. And Dewey, thank you and all those who put this on, because this is the type of activities and this is the type of venue we need to have some of our digital natives coming together and learning, because social media is becoming so important to us as the tools we use today. And I am grateful to be here with you. And what I'd like to do is pass it over to Mr. James Wilkinson for his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Calvin. Dr. Nobles, I much graciously appreciate it. You too, Mr. Dewey, thank you for having me, and all everyone that actually put this together. And to the students, thank you all for having us, and thank you for attending so we wouldn't talk to just each other. So my name is James Wilkinson. I have over 26 years of experience in the IT security space. I started my career out in the Marine Corps after college. I was a Marine Corps officer, information system officer, and then I transitioned over to the Army, spent some time in the SOF community, and then ended up going into the banking community for a short while after I retired. And then I'm in the aeronautics community right now, working on the F-35 program. So I'm looking forward to having a great conversation, a great dialogue with you all. And thank you very much. Dr. Nobles, we'll hand it back to you, and when Mr. Gary Sims gets on, we'll go ahead and join him.
All right, thank you. All right. So who are the digital natives? And why is that important? It's important because you all were born into a digital age where technology is booming, and it's advancing at a rate so fast that we're actually having a very difficult time determining what technologies we want to use, what technologies we want to integrate, and what technologies we want to use for our personal use. Most of you, I know like me, when I wake up in the morning, I have a cell phone, I have several laptops, I have several desktops, I have all kinds of things in my house are just technologically capable of releasing my information and telling things about me. And we'll get to in a few minutes why that's important. But you all are just so good at grasping how this technology works. I've seen kids as small as 2 or 3 years old know how to work a cell phone. That's fantastic because the technological capabilities that we have today are so advanced, but it's no challenge for you all. You all understand it so well, and that's important, especially with our smartphones today. One of the most important things on our smartphones today happens to be our applications, and some of those applications happen to be our social media sites. As most of you probably see, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. And those are the social media sites that I leverage for branding, to communicate professionally with my friends and my colleagues, and also personally with my family. But I use Twitter and LinkedIn primarily for professional communication. And it's important to keep your personal communication on social media separate from your social and personal aspects of life. That's very important that we understand that today. And it's very important who you connect with and how much access you give that person to post on your social media site. It's very important. And these tools are very important to us, especially with some of you coming out of college, some of you coming out of high school. That's very important because you're going to be able to use LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social media apps to brand yourself, to find the jobs you want, to get into the career fields that you want to pursue. And that's outstanding. But the first thing we need to remember about these applications is that they're good. They're great tools, but they can be used in a very bad way. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about today is how do we avoid that? And actually understand what a social media application is and understand some of the background and some of the back-end things. When we say back-end of an application, that's like once you put your data in, what happens? And that's very important, especially as we all continue to live in this digital native environment, and we're going to be more, even in the future, we're going to be more reliant on our digital capabilities. And it's important that we learn to operate them safely, smartly, but more importantly than anything else, securely.
Dr. Nobles, this is James. So that is a huge key point you just made there, because what you post now, when we say, and I'm sure all of you have heard this, it lives forever, correct? So if it lives forever, that's one of the things, Dr. Nobles, and we will cover is how does it live forever? And what does that mean? And what you post now matters to your tomorrow. That hasn't happened before in history where what you did or what you posted 2-3 years ago will come back and revisit you 10, 15 years from now. And so it's very important how you handle that. Thank you, Dr. Nobles.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great comment. Excellent comment. All right. Next slide, please. And we got a question here, and I just want to take the time to answer it. It says, what if you have a private account? Does it still matter how personal you keep it? It doesn't matter. Because realize when you sign up for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever other social media application you're using, you're signing up for them to have full access to your account. In fact, to be honest with you, that account belongs to the application owner. It belongs to Twitter. They just let you use it. It belongs to Facebook. It belongs to LinkedIn. And so they have full access to your information.
Man, Dr. Noble, that is so key, sir. Oh, you are preaching to me today. I don't know if y'all go to church, but I feel like I'm sitting in the pew. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. And why is that important? Because nothing is for free, right? So when you sign up for these free Gmail accounts, these Yahoo accounts, when you sign up for free, it's not free because you're giving up something. And for those of you that are already in college and you're taking like a law class or something of that nature, you will find out that when you sign up, you're giving up information. And you're giving up your information, your email account, your phone number. You're giving up maybe location services. So you're giving that away, and so there is no expectation of privacy. So there is no privacy when you do some of these things on these free applications. Go ahead, Dr. Noble. Sorry, you touched me right there. I had to
listen, and James, that got me too. And so I really want you guys to go even deeper on this. So, and this is Dewey. When you sign up for a service, when you register for something, there's a disclaimer that comes up there, right? Somewhere in that disclaimer is the statement, James, to your point, to Dr. Noble's point, that says, listen, whatever you do on this, we got it. Is it that real?
Absolutely. It's extremely real.
Wow.
Even for those individuals with a Google account, if you go to, I believe it's activity.google.com and type in and log on, you will be able to see every website you visit. You'll be able to see every location that you travel and logged into that account with. So this information is extremely personable. Personal sometimes, but it's also invaluable to cyber criminals and those who want your personal information. So The one thing, if you take nothing away from this presentation today, from this webinar, take one thing away with you. You must learn to play defense when you play with social media, when you're on social media. And what I mean by that, you must protect your data. And you must lock down controls. You must control who has access to see your information you put out there, because people will see your information for free and they'll use it to their advantage. And so by having a social media presence, that becomes your digital footprint. And something else you need to understand, your digital footprint, employers are looking at your digital footprint before you come into the company to work. They're using that to make a determination whether or not they're going to hire you. There are companies that have algorithms put together that companies can pay for your social media, and they will go out and grade your social media presence. So when you like something, or you dislike something, or you make a comment, all of that information is available to give a business a grade on what is your social media awareness and presence and conduct. So remember that. There's plenty of things I see on social media that I want to comment on, and I have to let it go because I know it's not worth the squeeze. And just last night, a short story here. Just last night, a young man that used to work for me posted something extremely, I thought, derogatory on Facebook. It was a dog, a picture of a dog, and a picture of a politician, and he used the B word. And I quickly went out to him to tell him that not only was it demeaning and derogatory, but as men, that is something we should never do. Now it's public ever. No matter what he does, that conduct is in what we call in the ether space forever. It will never, even if he goes and delete it, it will always be on the Facebook servers. So what do we mean by that? Facebook has the ability, everything we do when we talk about the back end of Facebook, the back end of it is like a server. Kind of look at that server as a huge vacuum cleaner. It just sucks up all the information that we put out there, everything we do. Even if you send someone a nasty message, being belligerent on Facebook, and you go back and delete it later, guess what? It's still on the server. And Facebook.
Go ahead, Dr. Noble. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just going to make one more comment here. Facebook sells your information to third-party companies for marketing purposes. They say they sanitize information, meaning moving your personal information out of the data, but it doesn't take long for somebody to run an algorithm to re-engineer your personal information and put it back in the data. So that's why it's important to maintain your conduct because when you're on social media, because bad behavior on social media never goes away.
And thank you, Dr. Nobles. Now you're getting into the digital persona, right? So people become somebody else when they're online. They don't have to see people face to face and in their eye. You scheming so-and-so. So
right.
I want to elaborate on what Dr. Nobles just talked about here, how it lives forever. So it lives forever because companies have a mandate. Here's another slice of information for you. They have a mandate to back up and back up their information, right? So if they're providing service to us as consumers and they have agreed to provide a service, they also have to follow certain rules and regulations for protecting data and data privacy and information. So when they do that, that means they also have to back it up. And so when they back it up, there are rules and regulations for how you should back something up, how far you should back it up. So what companies normally do, big media companies, social media companies, they back their whole data server farms up in the U.S. And it could be multiple locations in the U.S. But then they also can back it up in the U.K., in Europe, or they'll back it up in one of their sites in China, or they'll back it up in one of their sites in India. So you'll see you'll have this what we call follow the sun model. So that way you have continuous operations throughout the globe because they have a global presence. So whenever you hit that send button and you're on Twitter, that's why your tweet ends up in a server or on a server in India 3.6 seconds later, because they have to back it up and replicate that data in order to maintain it, and they have to keep it for so many years. So I'll digress, Dr. Nobles. I just want to make that point in conjunction with what Dr. Nobles already talked about.
Wow.
No, that's a great point because I think a lot of people think that once you post something on social media, it goes away. We have seen this play out so well in 2020 with so many other bad things, right? We've seen so many people who try to prevent us from seeing their past, but because they put it on social media in the form of an email, a picture, or a text, or whatever it may be, that content made it back out. It surfaced from somewhere. So people we see it with politicians all the time. We see it with very famous people all the time. So it's important. It can easily happen to us too. So again, play defense and play smart. And by playing defense and playing smart, it also protects you from some of the security risk out there. Now, some of the things we've been seeing quite a bit lately, especially during COVID, is an increase in malware where people are trying to phish you for your information. Like, for instance, you might got a text message that's saying you got a package at the post office. You need to click this link to pick up your package or whatever. Now, we all know the post office don't call you or send you a text message about a link for a package to pick up at the post office. They're going to drop a card in the mail or leave a sticky on the door saying, hey, you have a package for pickup. So we have to be smarter than the average bear to protect ourselves. So what the cyber criminal is trying to do is get you to click on that link and see what happens when you click on that link. You say, oh, I clicked on that link, nothing happens. So what do? Human instinct, you click on it again. Nothing happens. What did you do? You click on it again. So there's something called an applicationless file. It's an executable file that runs in the background unbeknownst to you, and what it is, it's a keylogger. And what a keylogger is, it's a capability where you can copy somebody's keystrokes. Meaning that when I log on, if I go to Twitter and log on, they'll see my username and then they'll see my password. Guess what? Now they have the ability to log on Twitter as me, as Calvin Noble. So that's why it's important when somebody sends you a link, don't click on it, especially if you don't know them. I don't care how convincing they tell the story. That's part of the scheme. is to make you feel that you need to click on the link. It's a part of the scheme also is to get you to click on the link in a hurry. That's part of the scheme. You have to understand they want you to click on that link right away because nothing is going to happen and you're not going to think that something happened. Well, in actuality, if you click on that link, they log in malware on your phone and your computer. The only difference between your laptop and your phone takes two things. Your phone takes phone calls, and it's a smaller, miniaturized version of your computer. Most of us bank on our phone. Most of us have personal information stored on our phone. Some of us have things on our phone that we don't want other people to see. That information is very important. The most important thing to you in your life right now, other than your families and your loved ones, everything, is your phone. Your phone tells your story. It tells your story. I don't know how many times I'm watching, I'm looking at somebody that sent me something on Facebook, a buddy, and it's a meme or where people are trying to protect their phones, no matter, keeping their loved ones and everybody from seeing their phones. And to be honest with you, that's the right approach we need to take with our phones, because losing your phone or leaving it behind somewhere without a password or just leaving it unlocked is never smart. It's never smart because, again, you have your social media apps there. You have your personal information there. Again, play defense when it comes to this stuff. The other thing you will see is ransomware, where somebody will send you a picture. Hey, check this out from the party last night. Now, if you haven't been to a party, that chances are that link is going to be malicious. It's going to be a fake. And if you click on it, though, what's going to happen, it will lock your phone. It will come over, and it will encrypt all the data on your phone. It will do the same thing to your computer. And it will force you to either pay a ransom or delete all your information and lose it. That's why it's important to back up your phone. If you don't have a way to back up your information, you can go to Best Buy. There's something called MyCloud, MyCloud.com. MyCloud. It's a personal cloud that you can have, that you can put in your house where you can back up all your data. I back up my data once a week, and then I take my cloud, I unplug it from the system, and I have my data backed up. It's very important that you learn how to manage your data. We're living in times now where if you are a digital native or you're just living in this time, you have to become cyber savvy and security savvy to protect yourself.
If for those of you who operate on iPads and things of that nature, they also have USB-C drives that you can plug into your iPhones and back your data up that way and on your iPad. So it's not like if you're running a Apple OS, you can't do that on those devices because it's not a USB, right? So they use USB. So you can do that, but it's a smart thing to back your data up in case something happens and you get corrupted.
Exactly. Never, never, never pay for a ransom, because you can pay for a ransom and never get your data. And the other thing you have to take into account, who's watching you on social media? Who's paying attention to you? And I'll tell you, as a parent, one of the biggest violations that we as parents make, we are the first ones that create a digital footprint for our kids. We love our kids. We love to put them in little cute clothes. We love to put them in costumes like Halloween, Christmas, whatever. And guess what? We love putting that information on social media. You never know who's watching you on social media. Allow your kids or your family members to have, if you're going to create them a digital footprint when they're young, keep it small. Keep it small. Because there are people out there that are watching you on your social media apps that you don't know. And some of them will come out and let you know sometimes. Or they will make a comment on one of your pictures or something. Somebody was making a comment?
No, that's me, Dr. Calvin. Hey, great point. So one of the nuggets you can take away right now, and if you're going to say, for example, reach out to us on LinkedIn, put a note, add a note, and say, hey, was that the presentation? Thank you. Look forward to connecting, and then we can connect to you. Because if you reach out to us and we don't know you, we normally won't connect with people we don't know, we haven't met, or we haven't had some type of interaction. So that's another way, Dr. Noble said, limit your audience, know who your audience is, and don't just accept anybody because they have a nice smile or pretty teeth. So that's something you don't want to do. You want to manage that.
Absolutely. James, you bring up a great point, because a lot of times in social media, you think you're dealing with another person. You're actually dealing with a bot. That bot was created to help create and make activity within that social media footprint. LinkedIn, notorious for having bots. Twitter, a lot of these companies, application companies, social media companies have bots, and they're there to help create activity. So to make people think that there's a level of business going on, and it's not. So be careful. You know, if somebody reach out to you and you're like, I don't really know this person, but I think I might know them. You know, do your homework. You know, go to their profile. See if they're a complete profile. See how many friends they have. See how much activity they have had or posted in the past. If it's not a whole lot, it's probably somebody trying to fish you. So on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago, I had a company that reached out to me, and it was a company. It was a fish. I knew it was a fish because they were sending me links, and they said, well, we want to talk to you about providing some cybersecurity consulting to companies in the northeastern region of the country. So the first thing I always do is I have a Google Voice number. I use it like it's nobody's business, and I will say, okay, if you really want to talk business, reach me on this number. Chances are they're not going to respond, because why? They're not interested in my number. They want me to click on the link. So that's when I say, when you play defense, that's how you play defense. You put them on something where you feel the most comfortable, not where they can capitalize on you not being aware. I hope that makes sense to everybody. You have to take the lead and be the aggressor. If you think there might be a lead or something, it's okay to be, take some risk, but take calculated risk. Just don't click on a link because somebody sent it to you because they want to do business. And then the person had a nerve to hit me up on my work account. So all I did was hit phishing and scam button at work, and I let them take care of that. But again, the individual never reached out to me other than trying to get me to click on links. It wasn't worth it.
Well, Calvin, you're getting me now, man. I think it's time for an offering. Let's keep it moving, baby. I like that.
All right, next slide, please.
Great information there, guys. Great information.
And I love this slide here. This slide is a snapshot of the internet, which is, in my book, the greatest invention in the world. A snapshot in 60 seconds. And it tells you how much data is traveling via the World Wide Web at any given time. It's a lot of data. And you can just look at this. I'm not going to read it to you, but you can just see how much social media data there's traveling over the internet at a given time within 60 seconds. This is a lot of information. And a lot of this is due to the fact that the cost and storage of data is decreasing every week, every day. And so companies are storing more data. I heard an FBI agent one day say that in the United States, we create, process, and store more data on our personal devices and our personal computers than any other country in the world. That's why we are some of the most targeted people in the world, because of the information that we store on our devices. So if you don't have to store something on your device information, don't store it. I do not store any type of banking function on my phone. it's just too easy for somebody to get in to gain access to your phone and have access to your banking information. And if any of you haven't implemented multi-factor authentication or two-step authentication on any application, your email, your bank accounts, please do so today.
So Dr. Nobles, talk more about that two-factor authentication. It seems like that's something that's fairly new that's come in. Can you and James unpack that one a little bit more for us? What exactly does that mean? And you also mentioned the term phishing earlier. Just break that down for the scholars as well today.
Okay, hey James, I'll take the phishing one. I'll leave the multi-factor for you, James. So
okay, yeah, go ahead, Doc. They're kind of related, but you can go ahead and hit it. We gonna, I got you.
So phishing, the name really comes from, like, think of a fisherman standing on the side of a river, a pond, a lake, and they got a pole in the water and they're fishing for fish. Think of that concept, but it's spelled different. It's spelled P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. Well, a cyber criminal or a threat agent is doing the same thing. He's fishing for you and your information. So he's going to do some type of devious activity to try to gain information about you that he or she should not have. Like, for instance, I might send you a text message. I might call you. I might send you an email with some malicious link. I might even show up at your house pretending to be a salesman just to get your information. So you have to be smart. I just moved in a new community, and one of the things that annoys me the most is how many solicitors we have in a new community. They always want to sell something. So when I go to the door, my first thing is, who are you and what are you selling? Because I didn't ask for you to come here. It's not that I'm being rude. I'm being a protector of my home. And so if I go to my door and I'm not paying attention, and he says, hey, Dr. Nobles, how you doing? I am here, and I'm here providing, a follow-up survey on families that move into new homes out here, and we need to collect some information to see how we can improve our services for the builder, right? And so he said, I need your name, I need your birthday, I need your Social Security, I need all this, and he's fishing for information about me. If I'm not careful, I would have given him all of my information. But the first thing that I need to know is why you need to know what you need to know. If you need a survey or something filled out, let's do this official. Send me an email, send me a letter. Do you have a business card? Who is your boss? Can I get a business phone number? These are the questions you have to start to answer to keep yourself from being phished. Most of the time, they're going to try to get you via email because they want to get you on your phone or they want to get you on your laptop or your personal computer. So you have to pay attention. If you got an email in your queue and they got links and you don't recognize where it's coming from, and you don't click on the links. If you think it's something legitimate, call the company. Did you send me an email? Could you send me another email? Can you send it to this email account? And that way, you're not being phished for your information, because your information, your personal information, is the new currency. Your personal data is a new form of currency for cyber criminals. And the one thing I will tell all of you, pretend that you have already been breached and your information is on the dark web. Because most of us, our information has already been breached, and we're having to play defense for real. By taking that approach, you're preventing other people from doing further damage and more harm to you. Like, if you've ever been in a breach, make sure you go to your credit and lock down your credit. The reason you lock down your credit is because if any time somebody wants to establish new credit or get something in your name and it's not you, you make it more difficult for them. That is how you play defense to prevent things from, like, phishing from happening to you. If you get a text message out of the blue and they got a link, be careful. Don't respond to it. Because, one, you don't know who it is, and definitely don't click on the link. That's how you prevent phishing. You got to be very disciplined about that. Most of us have an urge to click on everything we get because we feel like we have to respond to it. But don't do it. Be disciplined. Say, I don't know that person. I don't know that individual. Because if it's that important and they really need to get in contact with you, they will call you.
Wow, brother, Dr. Nobles, I thank you for that. That is a awesome definition. So my little 2 cents, really, two-factor authentication. No, sorry, no pun intended. Sorry, I get a little excited there, guys. So and ladies. So two-factor authentication, or what we like to call multi-factor authentication, right? It's just like an electronic authentication to a computer. From a method like a computer, which allows you or grants you access to a website or some type of application, right? And so it basically has 2 or more pieces of evidence, or what we would call factors. And so the evidence is like the authentication pieces that allows you to access it, right? So we normally go by those 2 pieces are something you have the knowledge about, and then something you have or something you know. And so when we look at those 2 things, you have a password, but then there's something else, and then you turn on and then it sends you the text message, or to send it to you in an email if you choose to do so. Say, send me a text message with a 6-digit code or 8-digit code. You take that digit and you put it in, and then it says, okay, it was you because we sent it to a number that you told to send it to, and you are now authorized to access. So that's real short, multi-factor, two-factor or multi-factor authentication. Back to you, Dr. Knowles.
Absolutely. And most of your accounts, you can apply for it. You can just go in there and check it. It's free. A lot of times you can set it up to where you have a code that comes to your phone, and you enter that code, and that'll complete your access. I have it for Amazon. Amazon use what they call a one-time password or passphrase. They send a number to your phone. You enter that number into your Amazon account, and it gives you access to the account. And see, that's how you play defense. All right. So again, when I look at this slide here, I'm always amazed at how fast the internet is going. Most of us, we love the stream thing, but as magnificent as this is, there's a lot of malicious and nefarious activity happening over the internet, and a lot of it's happening through social media. So we have to be smart.
Hey, Dr. Nobles, real quick, I know we got to move on to a few more slides, and we probably have about 38 minutes left. Maybe we can hit one of the questions here as we go through. So one of the questions, and I think it's Karina. Thank you for that question, Karina. Do you think there's been an increase in phishing since COVID? Great question. You know what? Dr. Calvin Nobles is a researcher. I'm going to let him tackle that one, but I also can tag on as well.
Absolutely. Since COVID, there's been a 600 to 700% increase in phishing volume, hitting all sectors of the market, hitting all industries, including hospitals, schools, municipalities, you name it, small business to our largest corporations that in the world. And it's just people are taking an opportunity to get data or get access to financial resources, and they're doing it from afar. So absolutely, phishing has been one of the most prevalent things we've seen since COVID started.
So to connect the dots for everyone, why, right? If you're asking why, if you're that curious one, right, that says why is it? Well, more people are working from home, whereas a lot of people were working at their jobs, right? And most companies have filters and protections in place. And now you're working from home, but you might not have your firewall set up like you would at work, or you might not have your account separated from an administrator account to your personal account on your own personal PC. So now they're taking a chance and a gamble to say, we can probably have more access, and we're going to take a gamble, and the probability of us accessing people will be higher than it would be if they were all at work, because you don't have some of those protections. They don't have, they don't use WEP on their Wi-Fi at home, or their Wi-Fi is open and it doesn't have a password on it. So those are some of the reasons why those things would happen. Well, we have one more question, Dr. Nobles. Would you recommend against creating too many social media accounts and including personal data in your accounts? Woo, another great question. Y'all about to take me to church, boy. I'm going to have to start singing in the choir.
Absolutely. Having too many social media accounts with passwords and your personal information is just as bad as having too many credit cards for your credit management program, right? So what you want to do is narrow down the social media application that you really want to use. You know, for instance, for me, I just use Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Anything outside of that, you know, that's beyond my realm. I don't really need it for what I'm trying to do, which is market and brand myself. And that's something I encourage all of you to do as a young professional, is to use those platforms to brand yourself, engage in professional discussions, you know, ask questions. And that's the way, you know, you can get presence on social media and not in a negative light. Because when people see you engaging and asking questions, they like that, because people naturally want to talk about our profession and our field, and we want to help each other. And that's how you use social media in a positive way. But when you have social media accounts that you forget about, that you forget the password, that you forget you even have these things, that can be very damaging to your personal cybersecurity program, because it's in the larger corporations, we call those accounts stale accounts. A stale account will give you access to your personal information, just like the Twitter account you logged into last night. So that's why you always want to remember how many accounts you have. You want to remember your password, and you want to limit yourself on how many accounts you have, because you have to manage that. And the more accounts you have, the bigger is your digital footprint. When your digital footprint gets too big, it becomes unmanageable at that point. And so you have to go out and delete those accounts. So I would say, find, whatever number you want to reach for your account, but make sure it's manageable, and make sure you're getting some practical use out of it, other than just saying, I have an account. Make sure it's something you can use to, brand yourself, or, have some positive exchange with other people. And so on this slide, we're looking at the most popular social media platforms. I see Facebook up there, right, as one of the leaders. And I will tell you, for a while there, Facebook, had a hard time, because a lot of people lost faith in Facebook. But I tell you, one of the reasons why Facebook has really remained at the top is because more people across the different demographics are using Facebook. I mean, like, I see my aunt on Facebook. I see elder members of my family on Facebook, and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. So a lot of some of the younger digital natives, they're not fans of Facebook. But the older generation, they're grasping the Facebook, because it's giving them the opportunity to meet different people, classmates, friends they haven't seen in years. So that's one of the beauties of being on social media. But there's also some risk that comes with being on social media, like we talked about before. And you see Snapchat, Pinterest. I'm interested in cooking different recipes, so sometimes I go to Pinterest. I don't have a Pinterest account, but I get in there and I look for recipes that look good. Like, I'm going to try this. So social media, it has its perks, but it also has its downside. I have WhatsApp, so I can talk to my friends around the world. And this slide right here is key. The norms and the challenges. That very first line there is telling, and you see this a lot. You do not want to be the individual where on your social media account that you're got pictures of you drinking or out of control, because it could be damaging to your brand. Again, future employers, they use this type of information to determine who they're hiring. They only have so much insight into who they're getting ready to hire. Your resume, maybe a couple references, and maybe a couple more pieces of data or data points, and then they have to make a decision. There's nothing preventing someone from going to Google, putting your name in, and see what comes back. It happens every day. Inappropriate photos and videos. Absolutely. Before you go onto before you go on the Facebook and like something, make sure it's appropriate. Because even if it's funny, the question I always ask myself, will this picture or this comic relief they got on here, is it going to offend anyone? If it's going to offend anyone, you probably don't want to send it. Because once you send it, it's going to be attached to you and your digital footprint forever. You find out that people lied about their qualifications. And I just give you an example. I know people who went to school and they got an EDD, or they got a doctorate in management, or they got an applied doctorate. But on LinkedIn, they will put, I got a PhD. That is a misrepresentation of your qualifications. And people will not give you the benefit of the doubt, because you should know how to represent your qualifications on a professional platform like LinkedIn. So if you get an EDD or a doctorate of management or a DBA, you don't list that as a PhD. There's a difference between the two. Do not misrepresent your qualifications. If you have a Bachelor of Arts, say you have a Bachelor of Arts, not a Bachelor of Science. People will call you out on that, because they think that if they see something as minor as that, the thing that comes to their mind is you're not an honest person. And that could prevent you from getting a job or getting a fellowship or getting, an opportunity to do something else. Always be honest with your qualifications. Make sure your email name is very professional. Do not have an email name where your email is something disrespectful or something that we should not have. Keep it clean, keep it straightforward, and keep it decent. And so these points on this slide right here, again, this is golden. This is great information. And having a social media presence, there's some other risks that comes along with it. And we've seen this before, and we see it on TV, we see it on social media ourselves, cyberbullying, where people, bully other people via social media. You can be prosecuted for cyberbullying. Please understand that. Just don't do it, don't tolerate it. And if you see somebody being cyberbullied, find a way to help them. Password security. Do not write your password on your phone and store it in the notes. I know I'm hitting home with some of you. You've already done it.
Dr. Nobles, you're hitting below the belt now with that one. You're hitting below the belt.
If you're gonna
put it, wow, yeah, keep going.
If you're going to do that, make sure you write, instead of saying, writing down what your password is, write a phrase that reminds you of your password.
Wow.
Like the greatest football team that ever played a game, or my childhood superhero, something like that to remind you of what your password is. But don't actually write your password down. Please don't do that. Because remember, if you accidentally click on a phishing link and they do run a keylogger, or they get access to your phone, they see all of your passwords now, and they have access to everything you have access to. And now they can go and mimic you. They can spoof you. And it doesn't stop there. Once they spoof you, they go for your friends and family members next.
So there's some sites that are out there, Dr. Nobles, that allow you to kind of create those robust passwords. Are you a fan of those? Not a fan of those? Obviously, they've got the crazy character or the special characters, better yet, in there, and they've got the capital letters and the numbers and everything. Are you a fan of those, or should we steer clear of those as well?
I tell you what, I'm not a fan of that because.
Okay.
And I tell you why. I'm a fan of having a password manager. Like I use LastPass. I think I pay $3 a year for LastPass to store my passwords, and then I make sure on my phone I have multi-factor authentication set up. So if you ever gonna try to get into my password manager, you have to have my phone because that's where I authenticate from. And so once I authenticate from my phone, I can access whatever I need to access. But if you're gonna have a password manager, make sure you set it up correctly where you have to authenticate via your email account or via text message on your phone. Just don't get a password manager and store your password without setting up the multi-factor authentication.
So, I love that. We have another scholar that's asked about some of the biometrics components. So maybe there's a fingerprint, maybe there's a facial recognition that locks or better yet unlocks your device. Give us your take on those again from a information security perspective. Give us your view.
I love biometrics. I think biometrics is going to be the way of the future. Here's what you have to be concerned with about biometrics. When Apple or Facebook or any company store your biometric data, you need to understand that you need to limit who's using your biometric data. If they store it, you need to feel comfortable with them protecting it. Here's why. Once your biometric data is compromised, it can be used to hurt you. In other words, there's companies out there that will use your biometric data to determine your overall health, and they will use that to implement life insurance policies and health insurance policies against you. And that is one of the concerns about biometric data, making sure it stays in the hands of the right people. Because this is, once your biometric data is compromised, man, it's like throwing up both hands and just turning around and walking away like a little kid. It's game over at that point.
Right. And it's information, candidly, Dr. Nobles and James, that you are maybe giving away freely.
Yeah.
And I think and this is something, again, that we talk about year in, year out around this. And I want you to touch on this other icon that's on here around the oversharing. What the heck does oversharing even mean? What does that mean?
So we see this a lot, oversharing personal information. So, for instance, anytime you buy a home, be ready to overshare. It's just something in America that we have not gotten around. We share everything from when you were born, your mother's mother, everything. We overshare information. So when you go somewhere and they're asking you for your information, make sure you understand why they need your information. Because sometimes they ask you for information and they don't need it, but they're not going to tell you they don't need it. They're going to get that information for you so they can run marketing schemes against you. So make sure you understand that, because, you go somewhere, they're like, can I get your email address? The reason they want your email address is so they can send you spam when they got the next sale, when they're going to have, maintenance specials on for cars or whatever it may be. So the way to get around that is not to share so much information, or you can do like I do. I got an AOL account that I slap down on that paper in a heartbeat, knowing I'm never going to check it. And that is where I want my junk email to go, and I don't care who has access to it.
Wow, that's a great point, Dr. Nobles. One of the other points on here, can I move to another one?
Absolutely.
Please.
And one I think I like to kind of cover. We don't have slides on it, but I talked to Dewey earlier, and he thought it was a good thing to bring up for the group, right? For the scholars. And so I want to talk about this sexting and sextortion, right? And so I want to kind of cover some of the legal component of the sexting and sextortion. So I don't know if you all have been tracking some of these things, but you probably can ask in your courses. And I understand there's probably a few high school students on the call as well. So what I'll do is just kind of walk you through just a few quick points about sexting and sextortion. And so when you go to send if you take the photo, that's what we call production, or you're producing, or you're creating. And then when you send it, we would call that as distribution on the legal side. And then when you are possessing it, meaning you just got it sitting on your phone, we call that being in possession. So those three components will kind of get you in trouble. But basically, a felony, it is a felony to create, send, or have possession of child pornography. And you're like, well, what's child pornography? Well, anybody under 18, right? That's the legal limit. The legal law says you got to be 18 above to be an adult. So if you do that, that's a felony. So let me explain real quickly what kind of happened previously. So in September 1 of 2019, there has been a law, a federal law, that says it's illegal to send sexually explicit pictures by social media and or text. It has a 3-year limitation of statute. That means they can go back 3 years if you've had it on your phone. Say from today, they can go back to 2017. The penalty is a felony, and the federal law, this might something you might want to write down, is Fed Law Pen is 18 U.S. Supreme Court, so that's USC 2252.2252A. And so then it goes a little further because now the states have to give their interpretation of what that law means, and they get what we call a little prescriptive, or they explain it a bit further in detail. So I'm here in Texas. So the Texas Penal Code is 43.24. And this came out last year, and it is distributing harmful or prudent material to minors under 18. And if you're an adult, you can get considered as a felon for this offense. It's a Class A misdemeanor. It's up to 1 year plus $1,000 fine. And you can get a third-degree felony if you're a minor and you're using or used to distribute. So if you are a freshman and you got a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend that is still in high school, junior, senior, and they are not 18, and you all have explicit photos of one another, you might want to delete them, right? And you might not want to send another photo to each other again because you are now in violation of the law, and it is considered a felony. There's so much more we can talk about this topic, but I want to make sure you all understand that, right? And so just to cover a couple of items, as a juvenile, the juvenile age range is 10 to 16 years old. So if you're 17 in criminal cases, 17 or older, you can be charged as an adult. You won't be charged as a juvenile. So I just want to make sure you all understand that. Real quick, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Nobles. So, hey, the sexting thing is real. You get caught, you can get fined. It's no joke, and it will have an impact on your future. So don't share the goodies.
Absolutely. That's important because a lot of people are totally unaware of that. And just understand, like we said earlier, once you put it out there, it is always out there. It never goes away. And some of you are going to grow up to be famous. Hopefully all of you grow up to be famous in politics or whatever you grow up to desire to do. And the last thing I want to see is a scam coming across. What's that show that comes on with putting everybody's business out every night? Was that Cheetah?
We all know the one. You don't even have to call it. We all know the one. So you say you want to stay off of that one.
I don't want to see any of you on that show because you are much better than that.
Wow. Listen, let me tell you what, gentlemen. The topics that you all are discussing are very real. And our scholars, I really hope that you're hearing the way that we're sharing it and the insight that these leaders are providing. Again, 50-plus years of experience across these industries. Take this information and use it to your benefit. Hold on to it. Share it with other scholars so that they are well aware. There's no playing games here with the content that we're discussing. So very, very important. And remember, after today's discussion, catch up with Dr. Nobles, catch up with James, and continue the conversation if there's some additional places where you need guidance and direction. Hey, guys, I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We got about 15 minutes or so left. I feel like we got to touch on something you talked about earlier around the spoofs and the deep fakes and things along those lines. Do you want to talk about it for a few minutes?
Absolutely. And I hit it out real quickly here. So and we see this a lot, especially during this presidency. They talk about what's real and what's not. And there are a lot of examples out there of things that are real and things that are not real. The one thing I ask you, before you want to believe that a source is real, go and research it before you take it as the truth or you take it as fact. Do your own fact searching. Do not allow other people to do it for you because, again, everybody has a different agenda. So I can easily take your Facebook page and spoof it. And what I mean by that is once I get your credentials, I can spoof your Facebook page, and what I would do once I would spoof your Facebook page, I have a copy of your Facebook page. I made a copy of it. That's all I did. It's not your Facebook page. It's your information. And I'm using it to gain access to not all of your friends. And so we see this a lot. When I see family members that say, if you get a message from me saying, make me a new friend, I do two things. I change my password and I delete that family member. Because at that point, I don't know if, I have that family member, their true account. And then I can always come back and add them later once they go and work with Facebook to reclaim their account and get control of their account again. So again, set two-factor authentication on Facebook. You hear me say that repeatedly. But these accounts are real, and you don't even know they're out there. The only way most of us know that they're out there is when I pick up the phone and I say, hey, James, we're already friends on LinkedIn. How come you sending me a friend request? He was like, I didn't send you a friend request. Now he knows that somebody is spoofing his LinkedIn account. Now he knows to go and talk with LinkedIn to change his passwords, to do whatever he needs to do to get control of his account again, and for LinkedIn to take actions to delete the fake account. So make sure we understand that. Sometimes it's a simple phone call. I've saved so many people by just saying, hey, I got a friend request from you. That's you for real? Or is this, they were like, oh, man, somebody got control of my account. So make sure you understand that, because there could be somebody, with one of your accounts right now doing the same thing. And when you look at this slide here, and this is another way how people take your information and use it as misinformation or disinformation. We've seen this so many times where people will clip audio, different audio clips of different people and put them together to tell another story, or they will write over the original line, and they have the capability to keep that person's voice the same, to record that person's voice at the same tone, where it's almost, for most of us, we won't even know it. And this happened to Zuckerberg. And so make sure you know that these things are real and they can happen, and they will happen. And that's why you always got to play defense. One of the things I encourage you to do, every now and then, maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, when you log onto your accounts, go and check security to see when the last time you actually logged into your account. Because if you didn't log in at all yesterday, and you see that somebody logged in 4 times yesterday, you know you got a problem. First thing you want to do is change your password. Second thing you want to do, let Facebook know that somebody's logging into your account.
So, Dr. Nobles, along with this, real quick, can you elaborate a little bit on, since we've talked about passwords a few times, maybe we should hit them with, okay, well, how long should my password be, and why?
Absolutely. So your password at a minimum, should be 8 characters. If it's anything less than 8 characters, there are open market, open source capabilities, meaning you can download them from the internet free, and people can crack your password, and it won't take them long. If your password is password 12345, or if your password is password, or your password is 1234567 they will crack your password in seconds. So at a minimum, you want it to be 8 characters. My password are 16 characters. 16 characters, and I use uppercase, lowercase, and special characters as well. It makes it almost impossible to guess my password.
16 characters and not saved in your phone, Dr. Nobles.
Right. 16 characters and not saved in your phone. Again, a password manager will work great for you. I know somebody said is a password manager an appropriate tool to use. Absolutely,
Yeah.
because we live in a time now where we easily got 20 accounts, and we got 20 passwords that we must manage. So a password manager makes it easier for you. But again, you have to set it up correctly. It does you no good to go out and purchase a password manager and you don't set up some type of multi-factor authentication on it. It's pointless at that point. You just got a storage locker and the door is wide open at that point. Close the door on your storage locker. Lock it up.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I'm keeping an eye on time here. I want to spend a few minutes on the Internet of Things, and then I think we'll jump over to a great checklist that we have here with some additional reminders. Break it down for us. What the heck is the Internet of Things? What exactly does it mean?
The Internet of Things is just a sensor. For instance, everybody got the Ring doorbell. I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people have the Ring doorbells. You go up to the house, you click it, it rings the person's phone, or it rings their IoT device in the house, and let them know that there's somebody at the door. We have them when our cars. Think about your garage. Think about I can control my mom. I'm in Florida. I can control my mom's security system at her house from my phone, and she stays in Georgia.
Wow.
But that way I manage her security system. I let her know when something's wrong because she's not going to be, my mom's 70 years old. I don't expect her to be looking at her iPhone, looking at what's going on with her security system. That's my job. And so that's how IoT, it's a device that connects to the internet. Most of the time, it's going to have an IP address, and the devices are getting smaller and smaller. So when you think of the Internet of Things, think of your smart devices, your iPhones. We now have smart cars. These cars are connected to some type of communication infrastructure the entire time they're traveling now. So these people who manufacture these cars know where you are. Don't think they don't. They do. Think about, smart devices. You can tell your coffee maker to turn on at a certain time every morning. Your fridge can talk to you. I talked to Alexa this morning. Alexa, what's the weather? And those things are your Internet of Things. They all come together to provide you with some type of data. Now, here's the problem with that. Some of these devices are legacy, meaning that they can never be updated. And because they can never be updated, it makes them a security risk. And so they have to have the ability to update the firmware. And so last week I was on the phone with my mom's security company because I noticed that the firmware has been outdated. The firmware is nothing more than the software, hardware inside a small device on the motherboard that has to be updated. That's all it is. Her doorbell firmware was outdated. So I called the security company to have a new one sent so her doorbell will have updated firmware so it'll have better security protection for her. Smart TVs. When you get a smart TV, you might want to dumb it down. Your smart TVs will pick up your voice now. Your smart TV has an IP address. Some people have connected cameras to their smart TVs. Some people got security cameras in their house, in their houses rather. Do not have an internal camera in your house when everybody's there. Only use it have it set up so when no one's there. Because if everybody's there, there might be some inappropriate things going on. You don't want that out there for everybody to see, right? So make sure you only set your internal cameras for when you secure the house and nobody's there. that happens all the time. Your smart devices will come on randomly to listen to you. Mine came on earlier today. I heard it when it came on because it was picking up noise from the TV.
Yep.
So you have to secure these devices. My camera's outside. I have multi-factor set on them as well. So I own those devices, meaning that my neighbor can't own my devices. He might have the same security system, but he can't own it. I own it. It's registered to me. So I'm the one that controls it. So make sure you do that. If you don't go in and take ownership of your devices, your neighbor can be using your devices. Make sure you do that with your internet. Talk to your parents and make sure that their internet is locked down. I had a friend that called me one night. He said, man, for the past week, my internet's been so slow. So slow. I said, okay, what's going on? He said, I don't know. So we talked for about 20, 30 minutes. I said, let's do this. Let's reset the password, and let's reset the password to the guest accounts. Most people don't set the password to the guest account. Set the password to your guest account. Parents, if any parents in the room, lock down your guest account. There's no good to punish the kids when you don't lock down the guest account. You wonder why they love being in their room? They got the guest account.
Wow.
And so even security people don't think like this, because I remember one day I was at work and I was talking with a coworker, and she said, you know, my daughter been on punishment for a month, and she's taking this punishment like a champion. I said, really? I said, what's going on? She said, we took away her phone, we took away her iPad, her computer, everything, and she's taking it like a champ. I said, nah. I said, she's doing something. I said, have you locked down your guest account? She said no. That night she went home, she found her daughter using her father's old cell phone, and she was on the internet. So these are things you have to think about from a security aspect. You want to keep people off your internet when you don't have to, because now, you know, your neighbor might be able to use your internet and you might not even know it. They're not going to tell you. So just lock it down.
Tons of good information, and gentlemen, we could keep going for another 2 hours around content. I want you all to touch on briefly these simple rules that we have here, and just maybe chime in with a thought. But again, never clicking on the link. We've heard that. Know before you click. That's a favorite password or favorite passphrase, better yet, in your spaces. Changing that password frequency, a minimum 90 to 120 days. You got to switch those out. It looks like here. Give me 30 seconds on Pi, though. Personal, better yet, identifiable information. Pi. Give us 30 seconds on Pi, gentlemen.
So, yeah, when it comes to your personal identifying information, that's any type of information to identify who you are, to help someone gain who your identity is. Keep that information personal. Keep it private. Yep. You know, when you have mail that comes in, make sure you rip off your address, rip off any personal information in the mail, put it in the shredder, and put the rest of it in the garbage. One of the ways to fish is called dumpster diving. People they would go through the trash to get your personal information, your PII, so they can find a way to fish you later.
That's a great point, Dr. Noble. So with a couple of things I would also add to this here. If you did not go looking for it, don't install it. Sometimes things show up. Don't install it. And if you installed it, you need to update it regularly, right? And then if you no longer need it, delete it. And that's kind of the three rules we have. And the reason we say that is because when you look at the last bullet here, monitoring your accounts for any suspicious activity, as Dr. Nobles mentioned earlier, you need to think about, where is my information stored? Do you really think about that? And so, to give you an example, your information is stored in web servers, right? And so that's where you can get hit with spam sites or phishing sites. That's how they attack you. Your information is stored in multiple email accounts, your home account. You may have multiple personal email accounts. You get hit with spam there. You get hit with harvesting associated accounts. You have virtual goods. You have your online gaming accounts. You have your PC license keys, right? You also have reputational hijacking on your social media accounts, right? You also have account credentials in eBay and your Skype and your online gaming credentials. You also have your banking accounts that you have on your bank, your credit card, or if you do investing. And then you have fake antiviruses and malware. So if you think about where you connect to the internet, and if you drew that out, you would probably be very surprised of where do you keep your information and how you need to think about minimizing and protecting it. I'll pause with that.
Gentlemen, so many pieces of information here. And scholars, we actually had more content. We're just scratching the surface with a lot of these items, but earlier in the call, we shared Dr. Noble's information. We shared James's contact information. I would encourage you to reach out to them, and they gave you the key to this. You know, don't just send them a random request. You need to send a LinkedIn request saying, hey, I had an opportunity to hear you during the presentation, and now I have a follow-up question. And then again, you got to get further through the first gatekeeper. You got to do the first level of authentication, Dr. Nobles, before you get access to the second level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, college, you're going to have to walk through there. Listen, I want to give each of you gentlemen 30 seconds to give them one tip, just one thing that folks need to hold on to. Dr. Nobles, let's start with you, and then James, you'll end up getting the last word on this. One tip that you want students to hold on to as they exit the virtual table today.
All right, absolutely. My thing is always play defense. Never play offense. You'll go to jail for playing offense. Play defense. And the last point I'll make here is that across the United States, we are over almost 1 million cybersecurity professionals short. This country will not be able to sustain itself from a security aspect unless we get qualified, brilliant-minded people like you going into the STEM environment, going into the STEM section, and being able to come out and join us to help protect our companies and our national infrastructure and ourselves. So if you haven't thought about, if you're still looking for something to do, think about cybersecurity. It's a very fascinating field with just about a job for anybody with any level of qualification.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Great information there, Dr. Nobles. Thank you. James, we'll give you the last word here, and then we'll get everybody out of here over the next couple of minutes just with some quick closing items.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dewey, and thank you, everyone, for giving us an opportunity to be able to share and be able to provide some insights. It's been a wonderful time. So for me, I really want people to be aware of your surroundings, right? You know, be self-aware. The things you say, the things you do. And because the things you say and the things you do or the things you type in your social media life will follow you. And it could be to your success, but oftentimes we have a lot of history that says it will lead to people's downfalls or they take a step back. And then they have to start over and restart. So instead of you doing that, just be mindful of where you are and where are you putting your information. The last thing about coming into this space, information security, cybersecurity, risk management, everyone needs to be security minded. And we need people, even if you are not a cybersecurity major or risk management major or something of that nature, computer science, it's okay, because if you're a psychology major, guess what? We still need you. If you're an English major, guess what? We still need you. If you're a business major, guess what? We still need you, because we need that sociology, that psychology major to talk to us about pattern recognition, human patterns. And so that's a whole field called human factors. And so we in the IT space, we do the models, we develop the technologies, but it often has to relate to how the human responds and reacts so that we can build these technologies more appropriately so that they'll be intuitive. So even if you're not the technology STEM major, we still need you in this space. And so I encourage you all to please come and play with us. We need you.
I love it. I love it. Gentlemen, thank you for really, really great information here for today. We've given scholars the follow-up information. Going to go ahead and push your LinkedIn's out here just one more time. So scholars, those are going to pop across the final time here on your screen. Go ahead and make those connections as you deem appropriate, and then let's continue the conversation from here. I think you've gotten some great jewels to hold on to and some things that I think will really be able to help you in the next phase of things. So, gentlemen, thanks a million for what was a really, really great conversation here for today. So, scholars, we're going to begin to close things out here just with some final reminders. We're going to go ahead and give you the link for our survey. And I know we pushed that out a little bit earlier in today's webinar, but we want to go ahead and share that with you one additional time just so you have that handy. So, again, a couple of pop-ups here that will be coming across for you. But go ahead and utilize that. And I know in some instances that survey link may be blocked on certain servers, so our apologies for that if you're not able to access it. But you can certainly email us with any questions or anything additional or any feedback relative to what you've received here for today. But look out. In the next 72 hours, Andrea and the team will be sending you a follow-up email with details about accessing the playback of today's discussion and today's presentation. So please avail yourselves to those resources and go ahead and share the information safely with others that may be interested in the information as well. We mentioned the survey a moment ago, so that's again coming across for you. And don't forget, you can access the playback for the entire webinar series. I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone on the lines with us today, go ahead and bookmark this page and use that hashtag WFC Beyond College to share this information with others. You've got 12 sessions now that you'll have the ability to go back and review and share with other individuals that may find the information beneficial. So share the information with any and everyone that you think can benefit from it. Let's hashtag pay it forward and give folks kind of what they need. Again, I want to give a special thank you to our wonderful partners for the great presentation. Just really, really great information and some great action items here, scholars, for you to hold on to. So again, Calvin, great information. James, thank you for your great work around this as well. And scholars, we're just going to remind you, please, was someone commenting? All right, he was just saying thank you. So scholars, we just want to, again, thank you for being a part of our 2020 Beyond College webinar series. We certainly look forward to connecting in with you next year when the series comes back. And don't be a stranger. Make sure you're reaching out to us. Feel free to contact us with any questions or comments or even topics that you'd want us to consider maybe for next year. We want to make sure that we're giving you relevant information and things that you can hold on to and actually apply to your business lives and to the work that you're going to be doing in the days ahead. I'm going to end my comments by, again, thanking the entire Wells Fargo team, Andrea and others behind the scenes, Nicole and Dion and others that were able to join. Again, Dr. Noble's just such great information. James, really, really good insight here for us, and looking forward to keeping our students informed in the days ahead as they continue to build things out. So with that said, we've covered everything here for today. Going to hand the reins back over to Kavita and to Jed to close us out from here.
Thank you, and thank you to all of our participants for joining us today. We hope you found this webcast informative. This does conclude our broadcast. You may now disconnect. Have a great rest of your day.